my name is Jaymes. I use they, them pronouns, and today I'm here to talk about my favorite pieces of media from 2024. I am so excited to do this wrap up with you guys. I have been actually doing this on my TikTok for a few years now, but I feel like this year has been some of the best media that I've gotten a chance to talk about, so I'm super excited for it. Here I will cover TV shows, I have a couple books to share with you guys, and then movies. It was a really bad reading year for me this year, so usually I would make books like their whole own thing with their whole own video, but I truly only finished 2 books this year. So I have 2 books to tell you about. They're both really great books, but it was just a bad reading year for me. We are already working on it. I've already read 2 books in 2025. I will get better regardless. I'm super excited. So first, I want to talk about the television shows that I saw this year, the honorable mentions, as well as my top 6. I felt like this year there were not a lot of new TV shows. I don't know if that's just me and not a lot of them hit my radar, but I didn't really watch that many, and I feel like it's because I wasn't aware of that many besides a few that I knew weren't for me. But I am really excited with all of the ones I saw, which I will mention to you right now. There's a few honorable mentions. The Echo show came out this year. It was a Marvel show. I actually really liked it. I kind of forgot a lot of it because it came out at the beginning of the year, so I can't speak to it super well, but on my own perspective, it seemed to do a really good job with the representation that I saw. I didn't see any big critical things about it, so that was really exciting. But it was really sad to watch that, knowing that Marvel is probably never gonna do something like that again the way that they're going. So that was upsetting, but by itself, it was a really great show. I thought it was pretty well done, and I loved the inclusion of ASL throughout the entire show. And then also I wanted to say, I watched Gravity Falls the entire show front to back for the first time this year. I really loved it, and I started Hannibal, the TV show. I haven't finished it yet. I'm at the beginning of season 3, but it's it's a lot. I can't just sit here and say it's amazing, because truly it's the most sickening thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's also amazing somehow. I feel psychotic saying that, but if you've seen it, you understand. It's genuinely a really good show. It's just also the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I also rewatched the original animated Avatar show this year, so shout out to that. It was amazing, of course, obviously. And I rewatched Fleabag this year, the whole show. I adore that show. Now I actually do want to talk about my top 6, and I'll tell you guys some things I liked or didn't like about all of them, and you guys can let me know what shows you liked this year. The number 6 top show this year was The Bear. I actually was new to the entire show this year, the whole thing, so I watched it front to back, but then when I realized that season 3 was new and people had some critiques of it, I went back and looked at specifically which episodes were for the new season, and to be honest, I've been really confused ever since I did that, because I really loved season 3. I loved what they did with it, and for the life of me, I haven't seen any reasons why people don't seem to like season 3. I've just heard a lot of people say they didn't like it, and I don't understand. I think it was really wonderful, really well done. The Bear altogether is so technically well made, the soundtrack, cinematography. I really love the way that it's shot. It's made to be very chaotic, as well as the scripting and stuff. It's all very naturally done and very chaotic, and so it always feels like you're in a real moment of time with these people. I just love how real it feels. Is really refreshing to me. I feel like the show had amazing character work and character development, especially season 3. I grew to love and care about characters that previously I'd kind of hated, and it just makes them all so rounded out and feel so real, like I said. And so once again, I don't understand why people don't like it. I thought I think it's called the Forks episode. I thought that one was so well done. The Fishes episode is of course super well done. I think the lady's name is Tina, that they did an episode for her as well. They were all so beautiful. And of course Sid, Ayo Edebiri, I am in love with her. She is so good, so I just love her so much. I really love her storyline, and I'm really excited to see where they go, since we already know there's going to be at least one more season. I am dying to know what they're doing with her plotline. Alright, and then my number 5 show for the year was Bridgerton season 3. I was actually not super excited for season 3 because I didn't really love Penelope's character. I found her a little bit annoying, and so I just wasn't excited for her as a main character. And then of course Colin just didn't have a lot of character development, so I wasn't very excited for him either. But I tried to come into this season with an open mind, and I ended up loving it. I thought this season was a wonderful introduction, or wonderful addition to the show that already exists. it was such a fun and entertaining season. The ending of part 1 was incredible. I don't know what I'm doing here, but it was like so juicy, so good. And then the very beginning of part 2 was also just so juicy, so good. Unexpectedly to me, like the actors had incredible chemistry. It was so well done, and those scenes between them were so well made. It was just beautiful to watch. And I also really loved the moments where Colin was really like protective of Penelope, and they had those moments that really showed their friendship, because I really do think that this season was a really good example of friends to lovers done well, because while friends to lovers isn't always my favorite because it can come across really boring when it's not developed well, they developed it really well in this, especially the moments of like pining and stuff. Nicola is amazing, by the way. I said I didn't like Penelope's character, but Nicola, the actress, she is everything to me. I adore her so much. She's gorgeous, she's talented, and they developed Penelope and Colin so well that I came to adore both of them. Even though I hadn't liked them in previous seasons, I was rooting for them so hard in this season, and it went so well. I love the little Canthony crumbs that we got as well. Those were really fun. And I loved the representation that the show added with Francesca and with Benedict as well, not only being bisexual, but polyamorous. I really hope that they continue that since next season is his, but I have a really bad feeling they're just gonna drop it right away, which sucks, because it's some really cool representation that we don't get very often, and I would love it if they did something with it. Regardless, Eloise, you are next. Don't worry, there will be more bisexual or lesbian Bridgertons to come. It's true. I know this to be true. The only complaint I have about this season was that the side plots got really heavy, especially towards the end of the season. I keep raving about the main couple of this show and how much I love them. And so the sad part was that toward the ending of this season, the main couple got sidelined a little bit for some of the plot lines. And so the ending of the show, I felt like didn't develop their relationship as much as I wanted, and so that was just really disappointing for me. They deserved more screen time, and so it was really silly that it was given to all of these side plots instead, because they were where the show really shined, and they kind of left it behind for some reason. So that made me really sad, but overall it was a wonderful season, and I'm so excited for the next season as well. It's already, just with the casting announcements and stuff we've gotten, it's looking to be beautiful. I'm really excited for it. My number 4th show of the year was Agatha All Along. It was so wonderful. It's one of the Marvel projects I had really high hopes for and hopeful expectations for, and it completely exceeded those expectations. I thought it was going to be kind of like fun and entertaining and not really relevant to anything, and it turned out to be like a genuinely beautiful, well-made show, and like also pretty emotionally resonant and stuff. Like, it was so good. Amazing acting, amazing cast. It was really unexpected how much I came to love this show, and that's coming from someone who like knew I would like it. Like, I loved the cast as they were announced. I loved this entire plotline that they've been doing since WandaVision, and so I knew I would come in liking it, but it just blew me away. And I came to love every character. All of them were like pretty much new characters, and so, you know, you always run the risk of the fact that I'm not going to get attached to them in such a short course of the show. I came to adore every single one of them. And that is my one critique, is that since they're all new characters, a lot of their development was really well done, but there is just the simple fact that I don't know them very well, so a lot of the big emotional moments for these characters didn't hit as emotionally as I would have liked them to. And this isn't like a critique of the show itself, it's a critique of the fact that they had so few episodes to develop the characters. One thing that I really adore about this show is the use of real life witch practices, such as the tarot cards that they do throughout the season. I have my own tarot card decks, and so as they were doing all of the like tarot card scenes, I was kind of getting ready to judge them as they were like naming cards and meanings, because we know Hollywood, they're always like, you have the death card, it means you're gonna die, and that's just never what that means, and that's like all they do, and that's all the tarot cards are. They were using like actual tarot cards that fully well represented these characters. They were using the real meanings of all of them and making it so cool and plot relevant, and I just loved it. It made the nerdy witchy side of me so happy, and so that was like, once again, so unexpected and so well done. And one thing I loved about this as well, this might be like a minor spoiler, but I feel like every single character, I don't feel like, Every single character in this show was queer, like on screen in canon. They were all thirsting over each other, like every single character was queer. I didn't expect it at all, it blew me away, and this one is a slight spoiler, but we got our first Marvel lesbians. I did not think Marvel would ever do that. Oh my god, that in itself skyrocketed this show to one of my favorite Marvel projects like ever, because Marvel is usually too afraid to do stuff like this, and they gave me everything I wanted from this show. It was so good. Joe Locke's character, the whole thing that they did with his arc and his development and all of his introductions and stuff, so good. I love them so much. I was sitting there having the best moments of my life every single time. It was so well done. And I love how they made a lot of twists and turns throughout the show a little bit expected, where the moment they happened, you're like, oh, of course. But all of them still got me. Every single twist and turn that the show took, I was like, what? Oh, of course, but what? It was so fun. I'm just so excited for the future plot lines that this show will play into. Despite the fact that I don't think I'll be tuning into a lot of the upcoming Marvel projects, I will be tuning into everything that has to do with these characters in this plotline. Like, it has me in its clutches. It's so good. My third TV show of the year, Joe Locke is having an amazing year, let's say that. It is Heartstoppers Season 3. I am so excited to be talking about this show. It is just so important and so necessary. No amount of people calling it cringe online is going to take away from the fact that queer children and even queer adults need content like this and representation like this. And it doesn't have to be anything beyond that. It is so important. I wish I had had this as a child, and it is healing my inner child to have this now. I just realized I don't have my flag up. Let me put it up. Hold on. You guys can't really see it, but I needed to do that. Anyway, I feel like a lot of people who call this show cringe either dropped off after season 1 or made that judgment without watching it at all, because I don't think this show is cringy to begin with, but all of the sort of cheesy parts of it, maybe they're still there. I don't know, but this show is so emotionally, like, full. Like, it's not just happy-go-lucky all the time, and this season specifically was like really actually intense. It dealt with a lot of really hard topics, but I loved how delicately all of them were handled, where it wasn't like triggering to watch, but it was really emotional, and that was so needed. There were so many like side plots and the main plot that were pretty difficult subject matters, but they were all done so well. They were all stories that really needed to be told, but on top of that, one of the biggest things I love about this show is how dedicated they are to making sure that every plotline is dealt with so much optimism, because it's not just talking about the reality of what it is to experience these things and how hard it is, but it's also finding the people who have been through that and telling them it will get better, it can get better, and you'll be okay, because that is so necessary. Charlie has always been one of my favorite characters, and this season just made it even more so. And let me tell y'all, I started like happy crying at the end of episode 1. Episode 3 or so is probably when I started like emotional sad crying, and I sobbed throughout the entire season. Every episode of this season, almost every moment of every episode, I was like sobbing. I think I was going through something, but like it meant a lot to me. It was just so well done. There were so many side plots that I want to shout out, like Elle's, Darcy's, Imogen's, Isaac's, Tori's, all of them. So many side characters, all handled so well. I'm sure there's a bunch I didn't even mention that were done so well, and it just means so much to me to see all of this, not only for means of representation that is really well handled, but also just for all of these different emotional aspects that all of these different characters and perspectives bring to the show. It is so meaningful to me. I could talk about this forever, but I will move on to our number 2 show of the entire year. You might be able to guess based on who is sitting above me for this entire video, but it is Percy Jackson Season 1. Everybody clap, everybody cheer. I am so excited about this. I'm so excited I get to talk about it. I'm so excited that it exists. It means truly everything to me. This show, oh my god, it's like watching my childhood come to life in the best way possible. Like, we got Percy Jackson everywhere around me. I never left. I am a nerd about the Greek gods and about Percy Jackson, and I will be for the rest of my life. I'm Captain 3 if you're interested. Also, like, by the way, I come to this YouTube channel from TikTok, where I was like actively reacting to the Heroes of Olympus series for the first time, and those videos are going to be such a monster to edit, but I have gotten them all off my TikTok, and you will be seeing lots of Percy Jackson content from me, and that's where I am here to talk about today. Oh my god, so the cast is everything to me. It's like Rick shook the book, like the characters just fell out as cast members. It's crazy. Even the side characters are cast so well. There was one casting decision I doubted, which was Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he blew me away. Like, I was like, god damn, I will never doubt him again, because he did amazing too. It was so exciting. The acting blew me away, especially from like Walker. That is a little baby, and yet he is doing so much. The set was amazing. I love that it was a mixture of some practical effects as well as some sort of new styles. I don't remember what they call that thing that they film in, but this really new technology that they're putting a lot of work into. Like, they have put so much love and work into the show. The soundtrack is amazing. The fact that everybody, again, working on the show has so much love and passion for this universe, and it just shows in so many ways. It is so exciting to watch, and it's truly like everyone's little passion project where they all have every emotional investment to make sure that this series is done justice, and they are. It's insane watching my childhood come to life, and the best part about it is that they have made some changes from the books, and for the first time in history, I feel like I can say all of the changes that they've made to the books have served to make this universe like so much better. They make the themes so much richer and so much more focused, where it's not doing a few different things at once. The plot is very focused on driving their themes home, and it makes them so much more resonant. There were a few moments in the show that I was just crying because of how much it meant to me, and the fact that they made it somehow so much better. I was in shock. I did not expect that, and I had high expectations for this show, so that really should tell you a lot. I am so excited. I cannot wait for season 2. We will be talking about it a lot when it comes out. I will never shut up about Percy Jackson. And with all of that said, you might wonder why Percy Jackson is not my top show of the year. Because it seems like it should be, and you may be right, but if you know anything else about me, you might know that I am also obsessed with vampires. And that is where we come to my #1 show of the entire year, which is season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. If you know me, this is not a surprise at all. This show has changed me as a person. I cannot tell you definitively if it's changed me for better or for worse. It's changed me as a person though, like in a very real way. I was late to season 1. I saw the first season of Interview with a Vampire in like September of 2023, and then season 2 came out probably like 6 months later, 7 months later, maybe a little bit later, but I saw them very close together. And the thing about it is that season 1 did something to me. Okay, like, I am a gothic horror nerd, I am a vampire nerd, and I am a theater kid through and through. I love good theater. All of the actors they've cast for the show are mostly like theater actors, which just brings a different energy. I'm a writer, and I have been wanting to write like a lesbian vampire book. I'd been wanting to do that for months, but I hadn't had a plot. I watched season 1 and it clicked, and it's not like I've stolen anything from the show. It just inspired me to go, oh my god, I have a plot. And since then, September 2023, I have written almost an entire book. And as season 2 was coming out, it kept inspiring me to do more and more things with my character work and stuff like that, that just... I think this season turned me insane, to be quite honest. Louis is one of my favorite characters, like, of all time. And Claudia is my little darling, obviously. But let me just say, okay, we have to shout out the acting, the soundtrack, the script, the storylines, the cinema, all of it. Like, it is just so beautiful. It is a work of art. Season 2 specifically elevated all of the things I love from season 1, like the acting, the themes, all of the like gothic horror vibes that it brings to the table. It really just took them all and brought them to the next level, and it was insane. Episode 2 has a scene that is like the true epitome of what I want in vampire content. Every single time a season 2 episode, I was sitting back like Claudia watching the theater for the first time, like, It was insane. Episode 5 is a standout to everyone in this fandom. Episode 6 is such a beautiful storyline. I feel like it does not get shouted out enough, so I'm here to do that. And episode 7 was one of the most horrifying pieces of horror media I have ever seen in my life. And you're about to watch me shout out several horror movies when we get to that part of the wrap-up. So that's all I can say without spoiling it. It was truly a harrowing experience in a way that will probably never be matched by anything. I truly feel like changing the casting from Bailey to Delaney for Claudia's character is the most successful recasting I have ever seen in my life, because while it was really sad not to see Bailey Bass continue her role as Claudia, Delaney, like, took that role and did such an incredible job with it and truly made it her own. They are both Claudia to me, and if I wanted anything, it would just be for both of them to come back as Claudia in some form. Like, I love both of them so much, and I will never get over how incredible they both did at that role. It was so mind-blowing to me. Episode 8 ended the show so well, I thought. Like, not the show, there's another season coming, but it ended the whole arc of season 2 so well. It was so satisfying, so cathartic. I love to see it. And I honestly will personally kill myself and everyone around me if Jacob Anderson specifically isn't in everything I ever watch from now on. He has roots in me. All of his spindly roots in me. Like, I am never ever going to be able to, like, exist again without thinking about Louis in every waking moment of my life. Like, he is truly one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And I can't even read the books to process the withdrawals I'm going through from not having season 3, because he's entirely different in the books. It is truly, this back-to-back with Percy Jackson, best book to TV show adaptations ever in the world, because they said some changes do need to be made. And they made it so much better. It's insane. I can't even begin to talk about it. Obviously, I love Acid's acting as well. He is truly everything to me. It's just that Jacob Anderson, like, inhabits a place inside of my soul that I will never let go of. It is truly another thing to me. Like, he is so special to me. The things that he's done with Louis and his acting, they mean so much to me. This show is, by the way, very queer. I don't think there's a single straight character in the show, actually, and season 2 had one of the best sapphic subplots I have ever seen in my time, maybe even like main plots. Even though this specific subplot, it didn't have a lot of screen time at all, it was somehow so incredibly well developed and one of the most romantic things I have ever seen. And now, I am done yapping and ranting about my favorite shows. It is time to talk about the 2 books that I read throughout this year. I brought them so that we have a little show and tell here. So my second book of the year was also actually the first book that I finished in like an entire year, which is called She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. One fun fact about this book that I didn't find out until I was reading like the author's notes at the end, but I found out that these 2 co-writers are married to each other. And they just wrote a book together. That is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is like a little sapphic rom-com sort of book. It's like a little bit hate to love, not entirely. It's sort of misunderstanding anger to love in a way, like sort of stubborn hate to love, you know? Because I feel like hate to love can't really entirely be done outside of fantasy, but this is like a really, really good example of like misunderstanding stubborn hate to love. Like, it was very well done. This is not me shit talking it. This is me trying to describe it in a way that does it justice, because I don't believe in hate to love outside of fantasy. I don't think it's real. However, this book, I have so many good things to say about it, so I will just say my one downside right now, which is that there are a few like deeper plot lines within the characters that they used to develop these characters that I felt like they waited a little too long to explore them on a deeper level. So by the time they got to them, I was already like kind of waiting for them, and so I was kind of already feeling like I was missing out a little bit on them. They still did go into detail in those plot lines, so in the end I did get what I wanted. It's not even that big of a complaint. But overall, this book is what got me to finally start reading again, and since then, I have this entire stack behind me of current reads that I am trying for my very best to get through. I've already read a couple books in 2025, like, I am getting back into it. It is all thanks to this book. So, Everybody say thank you. I'm so happy about it. The characters in this book were not instantly likable. They're actually allowed to be like flawed, complex characters who aren't just instantly perfect. They don't become perfect by the end either. Like, they're genuine, real people, which I love, especially since they're both women. Like, I cannot tell you how annoying it is when women in fiction have to be perfect in order to be likable. Not for me. So I had a lot of fun reading this. The banter they had was great. They were put into very entertaining situations where it was just sitting back with some popcorn, watching some shit go down sometimes. It was really, really fun. I had a great time. I don't even remember the plot entirely well. Partially a me problem, mind you. I have the memory of like a goldfish cracker, especially when it comes to reading. It just doesn't always stick with me, so it's not like a book complaint. This book did incredible things. It did exactly what I needed it to do. It was so cute. The date situation that is on the cover here of them going roller skating together was literally like the cutest thing ever. It was so well done. And I really did love the story. It's great. If you want a cute, fun, sapphic read that will remind you why reading is fun in the first place, this is your place. Absolutely go here. And my top #1 book of the year is actually both not surprising at all and a complete and total surprise to me. And that is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This book, you may understand by now, I'm obsessed with vampire media, I'm crazy, and I'm writing a story about lesbian vampires. Not a surprise at all that this would be the book of the year. However, the surprise here is that this book is entirely heterosexual. There is actually a queer subplot, to be fair, but they don't have a lot of screen time at all. So, like, if that's what you're looking for, don't come to this book for it, but, like, it is in the background. However, entirely heterosexual. I bought this book in a state of mental distress. I was mentally unwell. I was having a moment and I was like, I need something to make me forget that I'm a real person with feelings. I went to the bookstore. I bought several books and it was all done out of pure distress, unwellness. I bought this. I said, this looks hilarious, but not in a positive manner. I bought this having been told in the reviews online that it's quite funny, quite unserious, and also possible Raylo fanfiction recycled into a real book. And so I said, this looks hilarious, I'm buying this to laugh at them. I was going to laugh at them. And instead, I don't know how to tell you this, this is genuinely the funniest book I've ever read, and it was all entirely on purpose. Like, I bought this to laugh at a straight couple doing straight couple things with vampire stuff in the background, and instead, I was laughing with them the entire time. I was having the time of my life. I have found a straight couple who deserves rights. A straight couple I was rooting for the entire time, y'all. I got to the end of the book when it was starting to wrap up, and I was mad as hell. I wanted this book to be 500 pages because I was hooked. I wanted more. It ended really well, by the way. I wasn't mad as hell because of the ending. I was mad as hell because it was ending. I want 500 more pages of this book. I just got home today from showing up at the bookstore to get this writer's other book, and there's a third book on the way. I will be purchasing it. I will read everything this author ever reads forever. Like, this book was genuinely sexy. Once again, not something I thought straight people were capable of for the most part. I love rom-coms. This is a genuine, good, wonderful rom-com of a book. It was so good. I had never encountered one in the wild, and now I'm hungry for more. Every single chapter heading is they're like sort of different from each other, but there's like a specific heading at the beginning of each chapter, and they are all hilarious. I was, once again, mad as hell when I got to the end of the book because I realized there wouldn't be many left. I wanted more. I'm addicted. They're so fun. The man himself, he's very unserious. However, he's actually like genuinely a really good guy. I was expecting, once again, to buy this book so I could laugh at him the entire time, and I really liked him. Even in good, fun romance, it's sometimes, like straight romance, it's hard to find men that are also like good guys, unless they're the kind that are like way too perfect and you're like, well, that's just not like a real person. That's like a Ken doll that you've put out into the world, which is also fine. There's a wonderful place for that everywhere, and honestly, I would prefer to read that in a romance book to a man that just sucks. This guy, he was like really funny and kind of a little bit embarrassing and pathetic at times, which I love because I hate men and I love to laugh at them, but he was also like a really good guy, and I actually really liked him. And I didn't expect to do that at all. I hate men. I don't know what to tell you guys. The vampire of it all, I will say, if you're interested in vampire, the vampire lore of this book is quite unserious, and the stakes of the book overall, quite unserious. However, I loved it. If you're like a Twilight lover and you watch the movies as a comedy series because you have taste, you will fucking love this shit. It is everything to me while genuinely also having such good chemistry between the characters and like a genuinely well-written plot. I will be literally spending the rest of my life searching for books that make me feel the way this book made me feel. It was just pure, unbridled joy the entire time I was reading it. Okay, and now I realize this video is probably going to be a little bit long, but I thought it was better to release a long video than a bunch of individual shorter videos. If you have preferences that are different than that and you're planning on sticking around, do let me know and I can take that into consideration. But we have finally made it to my final ones, which is the main event of the year for me, my top movies of the year. The reason this is a main event for me specifically is because I just feel like I watched so many movies this year and so many of them were genuinely incredible. I was blown away by what I saw and I was so satisfied by it, and so I'm so happy to be talking about these movies because they are all so genuinely well made. The competition was steep. These were really hard to rank. However, the quality was amazing on all of them, so I'll be happy to tell you about all of them. I will start off with some honorable mentions because I do just want to mention a lot of the stuff that I watched this year. The first thing I'll say is that I've been on a big Studio Ghibli kick. I've been watching all of these movies for the very first time ever, and it feels like I would have to like pull all of my teeth and limbs out of my body before I could accurately rank a Studio Ghibli movie, which is why none of them are on my ranking. I refuse to do it. I'm not ranking these movies. I just need you to know that I've been watching a bunch of them and I'm obsessed with all of them. They literally feel like home to me. They are everything to me. Other new movies I watched this year, The Fall Guy was really fun. I watched Love Lies Bleeding, which is so weird. I went into it not knowing it was a surrealist movie, so I was quite confused when it was a surrealist movie. However, I love lesbians, so it was still a fun time. It was just quite confusing since I did not realize what I was in for. Damsel was one with Millie Bobby Brown. It was actually quite fun. I thought it was gonna be a little bit like bland, but I actually really loved it, and it ended the plotline with something that I usually don't see in fiction that I crave and I love quite a lot. Saltburn was new to me this year. The note that I have written down is, man, what the fuck was that? And that's all I have to say. The next one is Wendell and Wild. It was made by people who were, you know, aware that Tim Burton's movies are very much not for diverse people, like Black people or people of color in general. And so they were like, you know what? We're gonna make one in that sort of style and aesthetic realm ourselves. And it has such amazing themes. It was so well made. And I really do want to give that a shout out because if you like any of the Tim Burton aesthetics or storylines or any of the sort of plots that they do, you will love this movie. It's so well made and it actually has care for Black people. I watched the Twisters movie. I hadn't seen the original, but this one was so fun, genuinely entertaining throughout, and I loved the acting chemistry. I watched The Wild Robot, which was so adorable. It absolutely did make me cry. And the last one I wanted to shout out was Venom 3. I will not apologize for loving my little slime ball. Venom is my little slime ball. I love him. You will have to rip them out of my cold dead hands. The series ended so well, it did ruin my life a little bit, and I did genuinely want to put this on my top 6 movies. Like, I left the theater saying, I'm gonna get yelled at for putting this on my top 6 ranking, but I've come to the conclusion that it's the Venom movies. You know damn well I cannot put those on my top 6 ranking without an incredible amount of bias, so I decided against it, but I did want to shout it out because, like, you cannot stop me from loving these movies, and also, we just have to thank Tom Hardy for making these movies gay as hell. It is now time for my actual top 6, although I did cheat a tiny bit and there is a tie for number 6, because there were a lot of good movies I wanted to talk about. You already saw me trying to squeeze Venom 3 in here somehow, and I didn't. So I think I'm doing really well here. The first number 6, tied for my number 6, is Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm really excited about this one. Deadpool is like my comfort character. I love him, okay? I don't know what to tell you. This movie was like actual nerd porn and it was just so incredible, like so good for an X-Men lover like myself and just a superhero lover in general. Since I will not be watching a couple of the upcoming Marvel releases for the Zionism in the upcoming Captain America film, unfortunately, I fucking love Sam Wilson and I was so excited to see his movie, but after the choices that they've made, I won't be watching it. I knew that this movie was going to be one of my last Marvel movies for a while, but it was a really good last movie to watch. You know, that's what I decided to come out of it with. It was really sad to go into this movie with that mindset, but it was also really nice because it felt like it's like a love letter to the fans and to the people who worked so hard on these movies. And so I genuinely am just so happy that I did watch it, and it was so well done. It was gay as hell, and considering the fact that Ryan Reynolds has been publicly campaigning for Wade to get a boyfriend since the first movie, I kind of genuinely think this was the only way he was able to do it, was by making it sort of not entirely canon and not explicit. This movie is a rom-com. Like, the plot, the overarching superhero plot stuff, so unimportant, but it was super cheesy in a really great way. Like, I'm here for it. It was so fun to watch. The soundtrack was also really great, and my favorite boy band, Stray Kids, also has an original song for this soundtrack, which is so exciting to me. The intro scene was just so great. It was everything a queer Deadpool lover could possibly hope to ask for, and I love it so much. The fight scenes were insane and so badass. Emma Corrin was in this movie, and they were fucking insane. The only thing I'd seen them in before this was My Police Van, and they were very different in that movie. This movie, I was like, whoa, I did not know they were built like that. Like, that was crazy work. I love them. I'm a little bit scared of them, but I love them. The next movie I have tied for 6th place is Wicked. This movie was a literal masterpiece. Finally, we have a good movie musical, and a musical that is not ashamed that it's a musical. Incredible work. I'm so excited about it. The colors that they used in this movie, I did love them. I did feel like they could have been more vibrant for like a, you know, Wizard of Oz kind of movie, but I loved them regardless. Ariana specifically was doing insane things with her voice. I have been a fan of her music for a long time. I have never heard her do a lot of the things that she did with her voice in this movie, and she was also incredibly funny. She brought such great energy to this movie. I'm so happy about it. And then I came into this movie not knowing anything about Cynthia Erivo, and I've left this movie thinking, oh my god, we need to give her every award out there. Every single one. I don't care what the award is for, give it to her. She's earned it. Holy shit. Her voice, her acting, her eyes and like her eyebrows are so emotive. It was insane. Like, there were a few times just watching the movie, just watching her face, I wanted to burst into tears. It was insane. And dare I say, my personal opinion, the best Defying Gravity performance ever done. Just my opinion though. For Jonathan Bailey, he might not be bisexual, but the bisexual icon that he turned Fiyero into is everything to me. Like, that was a theater kid performance right there. I loved it so much. It meant so much to me. The dancing, the singing, I can't get over it. I keep watching behind the scenes videos of his dance because it was so fun and exciting to watch. I love that they gave the actresses the freedom to change and make some like small, you know, executive decisions with their characteristics and characterizations instead of just forcing them to be so stuck to their characters, because it just made it so much more fun and alive and vibrant. You can tell it's a passion project for everyone involved. It was also very topical for this political climate, so like I must hold space for that. And for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. If you are interested in even more in-depth thoughts, I did a quick video talking about it on this channel. It's just a couple videos ago. My number 5 movie of the year was Bottoms. It was not new to this year, but it was new within the last couple years, and it was new to me. It was so incredibly funny. For some reason, I didn't watch it for a while because I thought it was not for me. And then I watched it and was like, no, this is so for me. Like, it was randomly bloody for no reason. It was so gay. It was so hilarious. And I just loved it. The character work was really great, even though it was like a comedy movie. The acting was just so fun, so campy and out there. This was actually, I think, my first project I ever saw Ayo Edebiri in before I watched The Bear, and now I have seen her in a couple things, and I'm just obsessed with her. I want to see her in so many more things forever now. Like, she is so incredibly talented and wonderful, and I love her. I love her range. I just adore her. I think she's so awesome. And yeah, just great performances. I love the vibes of this movie. I don't actually have a lot more to say other than that because it's been a while since I saw it, but it left such a great impression on me. Alright, now my number 4 movie of the year is Challengers. It was actually really hard for me to choose between number 4 and number 3, which is something you will discover why in just a minute, but this movie, holy shit, I cannot say enough about this movie. Like, the acting, the score, the cinematography, the passion, the energy, the way that it's written, it's all just so good. And it just leaves you, after the movie is done, with just this feeling. And I cannot describe it. I have never left a movie feeling like that before. Like, it gave me something that was just so incomparable to an experience that I've ever had before, where I was just like, oh my god, I get it. And I spent the whole movie trying to figure out what was going on in these characters' brains, and then it ended and I was like, and then a couple seconds later, I was like, I get it, I get it. And I was like, oh my god, it was crazy. I was a little late to this movie, so for months, I saw people going, this character was right, no, this character was right, and these characters were all in the wrong. I could not care less about any of that. That is none of my business. I don't care who's in the right and who's in the wrong, actually. All of these characters did the most insane things anytime they were on screen together. And it was so unexpected, and all I wanted to do was see what would happen next. I just needed to know what was gonna happen. I needed to know what they were gonna do. I was like on the edge of my seat, like, what is going on here? It was amazing. Like, it was just, they were such dynamic characters with such incredible acting chemistry between them. I needed to know what was gonna happen. I have no interest in the world in deciding who's right or wrong. I just wanted to know what was next. It was incredible. Such well done work. And now my number 3 movie of the year is The Substance, which is so different from Challengers, and that is why you can tell that it was hard for me to pick, because I was like, they're kind of equally good to me, so I can't decide which one goes above the other. They're so different. What I finally came to the decision of was that this movie just gives you a feeling. Again, you leave it with just this intense feeling, a very different feeling. But overall, I think this movie gave me a lot more to think about, and so that's why I decided to rank it above it. It's a horror movie. The body horror is intense. Probably like the worst I've ever watched, because I don't have a lot of a stomach for body horror, but it was so meaningful and so impactful that it was like, I was okay with it, despite the fact that it was like a lot for me. It had amazing performances. I cannot stress this enough. The acting was incredible. The way that the director kind of fully understood the male gaze and like took it and weaponized it to prove the points of her story is just like so incredible to me. And it really leaves you thinking about the themes of the movie in such an incredible and impactful way, like the ways that we treat women, the way that we treat ourselves, and the entire concept of aging both with other people and ourselves. It just leaves you with so much to think about, and because of that, I can't stress enough how much I think everyone should watch this movie. Like, it is insane. It left me with so much to really think about. It gave me like some inspiration for stuff I want to write stories about someday that are like so different than this, but it inspired me nonetheless. It is just so impactful. It's a hard watch, but it's impactful. Now, my second movie of the entire year is actually another hard watch. It was I Saw the TV Glow. This movie is so incredibly special. It's a little bit weird. It's kind of also like a surrealistic movie, but it is so incredibly special to me. It speaks really well to the trans experience, and it's kind of a movie where it doesn't try to like hold your hand and explain what's going on. So if you don't get it, you just don't get it. But if you understand any of the things these characters are going through relating to both the trans experience and honestly just having issues with your mental health, like, if you get it, you get it. For that reason, I honestly think anyone who's kind of questioning their gender orientation should watch this movie, with the caveat that it is possibly a little triggering. It's like just got some really intense scenes that are kind of hard to watch, so I would say if you're not quite ready for that mentally, like, don't put yourself through it. You have to be in a better headspace for that. But it is so incredible. It is so resonant. It's like very beautiful in regards to like the cinematography and the way that it's shot, and it's just so well made. It's a very like slow storyline in the terms of how it feels like the story moves, which is important to the plot line, and it's just so interesting the way that it's done. I had to rewatch partially to make sure I understood the movie, and also partially because I wanted to just cry my eyes out. It was so resonant, like I said. And on top of that, it's like just a really harrowing and hard watch, but it leaves you with such an important like internal call to action. Such an intense and hard thing to watch because it wants to push you as a viewer to know that you can find better for yourself and to know that you still have time in this world to change your life for the better. And that's really what it is it leaves you with this intense feeling, and it's just so incredible. This movie was my top #1 movie of the year for almost the entire year, like since it came out up until very recently, but I knew that there was another movie coming out this year that was my most highly anticipated movie that I thought had the possibility of being in competition with it. So I was like, it's my #1 movie, but I'm holding space, if you will, just in case. But I didn't want to automatically put the next movie in #1. I reevaluated, I made sure I was making the right decision and not just a biased decision, and I fully stand by my choice that my #1 movie of the year is none other than Nosferatu. Does this come as a surprise to you after everything I've just told you? Interview with a Vampire, this whole vampire book series. I am insane. I'm a gothic horror lover and a vampire lover. What more can you ask from me? I am also in the middle of a Dracula by Bram Stoker reread. This movie was made for me. It was incredible. Just such a gift to be able to see art like this being made. Honestly, the acting was out of this world unbelievable. The camera work was beautiful, and the fact that most of this movie was done with like nothing but practical effects is so satisfying to me. I've been watching so many clips about how they did everything. The costumes were amazing and completely historically accurate. The lighting throughout the movie was insane. The use of sound to get like the horror vibes was everything. It was all a complete masterpiece from front to back, to the point that I'm going to binge every single movie Robert Eggers has ever made, which I've never done before. I'm not the kind of person who follows movies based on like director, and so I've never done that before. This guy got me. I'm gonna watch every movie he's ever made, and I will be doing a binge of every Nosferatu and Dracula movie ever made, which is something I've been wanting to do since like high school, so like not really a new thing, but this movie is what made me go, I have to do it now. Like, I'm done waiting. I'm tired of waiting. The themes are so incredible and so resonant and so well executed, but yet they're so open for interpretation, which is one of the things I love most about this movie and gothic horror as a whole, is that the themes are so like well developed, but they give you so much room to really explore what's going on there. They don't give you one answer, and I love that so much. It just gives you so much you can think about, so many angles you can take depending on your own perspective, and there's no right answer. It's just all about exploring the themes within it. It's all about coming to your, not even coming to your own conclusions, but just provoking thought. And I love that so much. I eat that up. That's what art is for to me. It really kind of influences the kind of stuff I want to write about in such a way. And despite the fact that we have had so many like books and movies come out recently that are like feminist retellings of certain like myths and legends and whatever that haven't been super feminist, this movie didn't advertise itself as such, and yet it defeats all of those. It was genuinely feminist messaging. It was so satisfying to watch. I love the chemistry between all of the actors. The tension was insane that they built between each other. And Bill Skarsgård, I'm kind of convinced this man sold his soul to the devil or something, because the acting was insane. I knew that it was him. I did not recognize him once throughout the entire movie. Aaron Taylor-Johnson did amazing. Emma Corrin, once again, did amazing. I was so excited to see them in so many projects this year. Nicholas Hoult, I don't know what it is about him. Like, I don't even necessarily follow him as an actor, but it's just something about if he's in a project, I know I'm gonna love it. He always takes amazing projects, I think. And then Willem Dafoe. That is one crazy motherfucker. I love him so much. I love him to death. He is incredible. This movie was also a little bit funny in like an intentional and really well done way. I loved those moments that kind of cut the tension when it was needed. But it was like really scary and really harrowing, and I'm so excited that we are finally bringing scary evil vampires back. That is what vampires are meant to be. They are sexy, but they're fucking terrifying, and they are like harbingers of death. Their whole job is to kill people. Stop making them only sexy. They are so much more than only sexy. They are everything. They're everything. And once again, this movie had me feeling the entire way through. Like I said earlier, Claudia watching the play for the first time in Interview with a Vampire. It was everything to me. It was so good. But finally, after yapping for I think an hour now, I am finally done talking to you guys. I have so much that I watched this year. I was so excited to do this, and it was such a great wrap up. And my goal for 2025 is to work on better time management so that I can see even more, because I still somehow feel like I'm really behind on new movie releases, new music releases. I'm definitely behind on book releases, as you can tell by the fact that I only read 2. I'm just really excited to be getting more into it and to spend more time like actually, you know, focusing on art. I don't want to doom scroll anymore. I want to consume art. I want to watch it and be influenced by it and love it and speak to it. All of the things. I want to be inspired by it, you know? I'm so hopeful that we get more movies and projects like this in the future. Like, it was just an amazing year, I feel like, for a lot of these projects. And I want to know your favorites as well. Were they movies I haven't seen yet? Were they movies that I listed? Do you feel like I had good things to say? Do you feel like I forgot any details that I should talk about? Because I would love to talk more about all of this stuff. So please let me know. And if you like this video, you can like, subscribe, share, all of the things. And there will be a video coming out, it should be next week, about all of my favorite albums of the year. You can get all of my links to find me elsewhere in my bio, as well as a link to Help Palestine. And even if you're not able to donate to help out, you can still spread the word to other people so that they know to help out, which is super, super important. So you should check that out even if you check out nothing else from me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here to listen to me yap and to hopefully yap with me. It is really fun and exciting. So I have a big year planned, lots of stuff coming, and it's going to be so wonderful. So thank you for being here with me, and I hope you have a good one. I will see you next time. Bye!